Let's go over what each of the pieces on the chessboard are and how they can move. So I'll play white, and you can see white is faced off against black here. You can see that this row is set up with all what are called pawns, and then these are my pieces that are non-pawns. The rook looks like a castle turret, the knight, which looks like a horse, the bishop. Then here's my queen. This is the white queen, and you always know that the white queen is going to start on white, and then you can see up here the black queen starts on black, or in this case brown. Then next to the queen is the king, and then the bishop again, knight, and rook. So here are the key things that we want to be aware of. Pawns can usually only move one piece at or one space at a time. They move forward only one space at a time. But a pawn is kind of interesting that on its starting move, it can either move one space or it can move two spaces. So you can see that's a legal move for a pawn. I can move one or I can move two spaces. All right. So I've moved out these pawns just so I can move some of these other pieces as well. So let's take a look at some of what the other pieces can do on a chessboard. Here is the rook, and the rook can move forward or to the side as many pieces as you want. So I can keep going like this. I can do up, down, over, etc. But I can't do diagonal, and if something's in my way, for instance, in this case my white pawn is in my way, I can't move over it. I can't go past it. If there was a pawn right here, a black pawn, I could move and take that pawn, and I would have captured that pawn in that situation, and it would become my pawn. So rooks are very powerful. I can move horizontal, which side to side, or I can move up, down, vertically. Okay, so I'm going to put my rook back here. The knights are kind of an interesting piece. In fact, the knights are one of the unique pieces in chess in that the knights can actually jump over other pieces. It's the only piece that can jump over another piece. And so a knight doesn't move just straight up and down or just side to side. A knight has kind of an interesting movement, and it sort of mirrors or looks like the neck of the horse and then a curl. So I go 1, 2, 3, or I can go 1, 2, 3, or I'm going to move out of space here. I can actually go 1, 2, 3. All right, so I can either go 3 in one direction and over 1, or I can go 1 in one direction and then over 3. So knights are very powerful, and you can see that if a knight is right here in the middle of the board, the knight can actually cover a lot of space. We'll talk about covering in a little bit, but the knight can threaten a lot of pieces. Right here, the knight can go here and kill a pawn that's over there, or here, or here, or here, or here. So in this situation, if I could have a pawn here, pawn here, pawn here, could have a rook here. Let's see, I could have a bishop here, and I could have a rook right here. And in this case, I mean, there's even more pieces. I'm have some pieces down here. I'm threatening all of those pieces. So a knight can be a very interesting tool in chess. So let's put my knight back. Put all these guys back. The next piece is the bishop, and you can see that I have one bishop on a brown square or black square, and then I have one bishop on a white square. And what the bishops can do is they can go diagonally in any for as many spaces as possible, as long as there's nothing in front of them, on their colored square. So I just am taking my bishop and I'm going like this. Oop, kind of missed it. And then here I can go this far over here, and if that's not there, I can go over here and attack the pawn. So I can do lots of things with my bishop. And the other bishop, the black bishop, let's say, or the black square bishop, can do the same type of thing. He can move diagonally all over the place. Now, the queen is kind of an unusual piece. It's the most powerful piece on the board in the sense that it can basically do what any other piece can do. It can move vertically and horizontally like the rook. It can move diagonally like the bishop. It can't jump over a piece like the knight, and it doesn't do the little curl move like the knight does. So, but it's a very, very powerful piece. For instance, if I'm over here, you can see that this knight, this queen, can basically threaten, all of these pieces, anything over here. So it covers a lot of ground. And the queen is a very powerful piece. The king is the most important piece on the board in the sense that if you lose your king, you're done. You lose the game. But the king can only move in one direction. It can only move one space, rather, in any direction. Okay. Now the king can kind of moves like a pawn in the sense that it can move only one space, but the king can move diagonally, backwards, and all that. So all of these spaces are covered by the king. I neglected to mention that the pawns, that they move only one space after they've done their original move. They only move one space. They actually attack diagonally. So in this situation, I can move forward, but I attack and capture a piece diagonally.